Hi, greetings. My name is Doc Matt, and as a profession, I'm an international psychiatrist and do much of my work, have been for a good number of years outside of the U.S. Humanitarian work as well as other things, and been to many countries throughout the world. So my view, my perspective is a little bit different than someone who has not traveled outside the country. I've gotten to see America not only from within the country because I was born and raised here, but I've gotten to see America through the eyes of others, and I've gotten to see America in other settings other than being here. You know, news medias and so forth, people from other places, different cultures, different societies. So it's been interesting, but I think it gives me a little bit of a different outlook and aspect to how I see things. So, you know, there are those of you that may agree with me on my issues that I'm going into today. This is titled "Wake Up America" because I feel like as Americans we need to wake up and we need to better understand what's going on. We need to um, turn around the problems and start gaining ground on doing better. If we do better for the country, we do better for each of us, as the way it would normally go. So, you know, a lot of our issues these days, and I'm speaking now because of the fact that I feel there's a certain amount of urgency to do so, because of our situation here within America and internationally. People are concerned with what? People are concerned with their own lives first and foremost, as they should be, as is natural to do. We're concerned with the economy. If we're concerned with the economy, we can't focus on just our economy. We have to focus on the economy of the country as a whole, and our interaction with the world toward that end. So we need to look at all those things. We are concerned about jobs. That's also tied into economy. If the jobs aren't there, we can't possibly make the money. And the figures that come out from that are reported from the government agencies and such are not figures that are completely accurate. If you dig into it, you find that the underemployed is a huge number. And with this huge number, if you add that back into it, you see where we really stand. Businesses are having a very tough time because of government regulations and overreach. Whether they're large business, small business, we're driving them out of the country. They're not here, you know, and new businesses trying to start up are faced with so many difficulties that they can't hardly do it. Or if they do start, they often fail. The percentage of businesses that fail is very high and extraordinarily not what it should be, considering that's what we were pretty much built on. Middle class America is disappearing. There isn't any middle class nearly like there used to be, but we have to remember that middle class is what that America was built on the backs of, those people in that middle class. If we diminish that, we're diminishing everything else. We have issues with immigration, in particularly illegal immigration. Illegal immigration is far beyond out of control. It is not regulated. It is not rule of law. It is not being followed. This is a major issue on many fronts, not just one. It's not just the fact of helping those that would like to come here and have a better life. That's fine. My grandparents came from Poland, and they immigrated here legally. They raised a family. My father, his three brothers, all fought in World War II. My dad was a Army Air Corps pilot. Very proud of him for that. And the way they felt about America, the way America was at the time, was more conjoined together. Whereas it's been less and less as the years have gone by. This is not the America that I remember and grew up with. Some people think there's too many things wrong with the way America was, the way Americans used to be. Was there situations where those in America were, you know, racially imbalanced, were Not fair and equal for everyone. Females versus males, etc. Yes, but there are always problems, and it's about overcoming those problems and doing better, which we have done. But now we've gone too far beyond that into another scenario where it's more damaging than ever, and making claims that aren't really justified or backed up by facts. We've got all these different groups that are doing all these different things, and that is not the majority. America and everything that goes on is based on the majority of the population, and it's based on trying to do what's right, and that's all become very obscure. That's all become very confused, and we need to get back to those basics. We're concerned about our safety. Our safety is a big issue. Your safety is a big issue. Safety for your family is a big issue. The illegal immigration is encroaching on that safety. It already has. It's on the rise. We have hundreds, thousands of people that are coming across the border unchecked. Again, this is against rule of law, and it's against the way it should be. It is not in our best interest. You have people here that are here legally, and some of those are voting for things and spouting off about things about the illegal immigrants. Oh, let them come, let them come. They're looking at something that's probably in their own best interest. They want to bring their families here, and they have difficulty doing it. And so even if they get here illegally, they want them to have this path to citizenship. And it's bullshit. Frankly, sorry, but it is bullshit. We can't go on in that kind of manner. They have to follow the method. They have to follow the way. This is for your safety and security and everyone else's. It's for your financial and economic balance as everyone else's, and for the country as a whole. These things have to be followed. Now they want to bring in all the Syrian refugees and so forth. I'm not saying they don't need to be helped. They do need to be helped. You have this dictator in Syria, and he's committed genocide. I've seen actual footage and videotapes being out of the country. I've seen this. Some of these where chemical weapons were released, mustard gas and things released on citizens, children, that actually brought tears to my eyes, that had me crying over it, that I couldn't bear to hardly watch. This man is worse than Hitler almost ever thought of being. That's his idol. And that should be dealt with in that way, not Russia going in and backing him up and us allowing him to do so. That's part of the issue. People are having difficulty with taxes. They're having difficulty with the IRS overreach and paying too much to them. For what? When so much of this money is wasted in so many different ways and is not in check. And it needs to be. Should be. Insurance companies have run amok. Whether it is car insurance, homeowners insurance, health insurance, absolutely has run amok with this so-called affordable bill, Affordable Care Act. This is something that has to be ended. That's part of what's eliminating the middle-class citizen. They cannot really afford this so-called insurance when the insurance companies have us by the throats doing whatever they want to do, making billions of dollars from all of us. With ridiculous amounts of people on Medicaid, with ridiculous amounts of deductibles, with ridiculous amounts of how much it costs you. Insurance companies have free reign. They have their lobbyists. They have power. They have influence with the politicians, with the government. Because of this factor, they've run amok. It's time for them to stop making so much profit. Any business making a profit, I understand. I completely understand. But making as much profit as they make is something that needs to end. It has to end. Otherwise, it is going to damage us far beyond repair. Healthcare is critically important. We have to have healthcare, but we don't have healthcare at the cost of surviving and eating and living. That's too much. And that needs to be reined in, and someone has to address that. And we as the people need to speak up and let the government know that this is how we feel, and they have to put a stop to it. And we can't stop until they listen, as with anything else. The way our veterans, the VA situation, the way the veterans are treated, the way the military is treated, the way the military is handled, all this needs to change. All this is a huge problem. There's no way in hell that veterans should have to go through what they go through to receive medical care. Or many times what the case seems to be is that they're not receiving medical care. This needs to end. We can't do this. Military is what protects the country and us. At least they're supposed to when they're led by the proper commander-in-chief and they're directed in the right ways. That's their purpose, to keep us safe, keep balance. No, we're not supposed to be the world's policeman, but we do have things that we have to deal with. We do have, especially now, terrorism that we have to deal with. You can't go into these countries and you can't go in there and half step. I've been to these countries. I've spent over a year in Afghanistan myself. You can't half step. You have to go in and completely do what you're going to do and get the hell out. You minimize the loss of life in doing so, and you accomplish what needs to be done for the betterment of the world and for America. Not alone, with our allies in various regions. That's what I think, in my view, needs to be done. Government overreach and control has spun out of control, more or less. The overreach is affecting businesses, large and small. It's affecting our economy. It's making it worse. Their massive spending and waste in their spending is really killing us as a country, and that flows down to each individual person, and that's what we need to see, and that's what we need to wake up and realize, is that things of this nature is part of what we have to stop. We have all this regulation that is taking people and saying, okay, you have to have this education, that education, this class, that class, you have to have these different licenses and so forth, that you can't do this profession. It's become so confusing. It's just like the IRS tax code. It's become so much. And the colleges benefit from it financially. The universities benefit from it financially. But the individual is having a hell of a time to be able to get through it. There's plenty of people out there who could be, have the ability to do different things, but because of government regulations, and that is everywhere from the city to the federal government, but especially states, say, oh, it has to be this way, it has to be that way. Well, you got to have these people that have to have these jobs in the government, and they have to make their money, and they've got to have a purpose, so they have to come up with a purpose, and what they do is they overregulate. They overregulate because they want to control, and they want to have their position, they want to have their power, their money. Absolute power corrupts, absolutely, we all know. That's not the point. The point is, we're letting them get away with it. Plenty of people could do plenty of jobs and not have to have as much detail. Sure, we want professionals and we want people capable of doing their jobs. But it is too far reaching and it is too overboard. And we need to back it up a little. This also opens up more job opportunities for people to be able to have a life, to be able to afford a life. Things are out of control with the cost of everything. It's absolutely ridiculous. Cost of housing, cost of eggs. It's all too far. Complications are too much. They need to be reduced. Simplified. Common sense is the rule. Common sense should be the rule. But it seems when I look around me that common sense has gone out the window and it's hardly ever used. And they brush common sense aside for many other things with many excuses You can spin anything the way you want to spin it. It still comes back to basics. Okay? You know, we have money that is being wasted in the government on programs that are absolutely ridiculous and useless. We have money being wasted that shouldn't be, but it's been going on and it's only increased. We want to send money out of the country to other countries for this, for that, for this, for that. And Iran, for God's sakes, we're sending money, you know, and making money available to them. For what? What do we get in return? We get very little of next to nothing. Now they're talking to, you know, Cuba about the same kind of things. Cuba's a little different, but it's still a majorly depicted communist country that, you know, has extreme human rights violations. Maybe this will change over time with giving them more money to spread around in their country, if it is spread around in their country. If it's only held by the government, then it's not really a point, and it'll still take many years to accomplish anything. We're not being careful enough about this sort of thing. Until we can deal with situations like we have 1.5 million people or more at this point that are homeless, starving. Individuals and entire families that are homeless and starving. Why are we not dealing with those people? Why? That's a very simple question to a very broad problem. But we're not dealing with it. We're not handling it. We're not helping these people hardly at all. They're freezing to death in the wintertime. They're starving to death. Again, especially in the winter. Why are we not helping them? I don't mind helping, you know, the SPCA or whatever, you know, with animals and so forth. But we've got people dying in the street, and that must stop. If we're such a great country, why do we have 1.5 million people or more homeless? This has to end. And only we, as everyone, it's not about just our individual contributions, it's about our governments doing the right things, from the city to the state to the federal. Doing what's right. If you're not going to deal with the problems here, how are you going to deal with it if you're halfway around the world giving tons of money? It's not the way it should work. These deals that we're making are ludicrous, ridiculous. We have to learn as Americans to stand together. We have to learn to stand together and to stand up for what are the right things. Bottom line, regardless of anything else. Do we have all these people that have these differences in America? Yes, we most certainly do. So what? I don't care if the person next door to me is Jewish and the person on the other side of me is Catholic and, you know, the person in front of me is Muslim. I don't care. What I care about is that we can speak together, we talk together, we watch out for each other, that we take care of each other, we respect each other, and don't insult and attack. That's what we're supposed to represent and be. Again, that is common sense. This millennial generation, who seems to be brain damaged a lot of times, not all of you, of course, but a lot seem to be. Waters, I was watching on Fox the other day, and was at a college campus interviewing students there, different ages and backgrounds and so forth. And it was a prestigious, well-known college, university, and they couldn't answer basic questions. Who was the vice president? They didn't know. What month do we vote? They didn't know. How can you not know those things and have a valid opinion on anything else? We form opinions, we rationalize and form these wild opinions about things, and opinions are fine as long as you can discuss it peacefully, calmly. You state your case, you state your points, and then it is what it is. We all do the best we can. I have a philosophy that's carried me through a long time. My philosophy is that wherever I am, whatever I'm doing, It's because I'm supposed to be there. A certain amount of predetermination coupled with individual choice. Freedom, freedom of will. But I'm here now doing this because I believe I'm supposed to be for some reason. I don't even have to know the reasons. When I was over, in another country working, I felt like I was there because I was supposed to be there for whatever reasons. I didn't have to know the reasons. I just accepted the fact that it was the way it was because I was moving in a forward motion, in a forward manner in my life. And that's what helps me get by every day. For my life, for me. For all of you, it's up to you what your decisions and philosophy is. We have a lot of things we need to fix. A lot of problems that need to be solved. These problems have accumulated over a long period of time. Just like jails, prisons. Do you know that a lot of states, especially like South Carolina, a lot of states have made jails and prisons part of their new industry. This has been going on for years. South Carolina is an example again, locks up more people per capita than any other state in America. They lock up people in South Carolina more per capita than all of Russia. Now that's pretty damn astounding. Why? Because they get federal tax dollars for every prisoner that they have. So it's become an industry, a business in that state as well as other states. And what happens to these people? These people go in there and they're not all violent killers, rapists, etc. The desperation of the financial situation has caused a great deal of it. Drugs has caused a great deal of it, of course. Absolutely, hands down, it has. And now these people have a record. They come out. They are now third-class citizens. They cannot get a regular job. They have to fight to try to get a job. Everybody does background checks now, and no one will hire these people. What good is that when it becomes thousands and thousands and thousands of people? It doesn't do any good. If you don't have their path to citizenship, their path to restoring full rights, their path to not crucifying them for all of their life, for the rest of their life and days. They were 21, they went in and did something, boom. Their life is over as normalcy. This has to be stopped. Giving them a pardon is not enough. They have a pardon, but the record is still there. They do not get hired. They don't care if they have a pardon or not. So this is an issue. Okay? That's something that needs to be dealt with. The millennials, their disrespect for everyone else who doesn't feel, believe, look, and act like they do. Their lack of knowledge about our own basic political procedures. Maybe they need to take a little time to look a little more and see what's really going on before they jump off at the mouth and do what they do, as they do. We have this situation with the political president's election right now, and we have the Democratic Party, Republican Party, and the left, the right, the liberal, the conservative, and it's always this black and white issue of how things should be. Now, I've been around long enough and been in enough places to know that not so many things are so black and white. There are not so many left or right, up or down. A lot of times they're a little bit this way or a little bit that way, depending upon what the topic is, about what it's about. Sometimes you have to go a little left, or sometimes you have to go a little more to the right. It is not all crystal clear. You have a basic premise, and that's what these parties operate on, and maybe these parties shouldn't even exist anymore. I sure as hell think that this electoral college business should be abolished, should be done away with. Why? What is this voting about? This voting about in the political arena is about what the majority of the population says. Now you've got this race, and you've got the RNC running around trying to off one of their candidates. You've got this RNC and the elites trying to dictate who they're going to put up for this esteemed high office, the highest office in the land. In my opinion, they don't get to dictate who. People are out there, the people vote, and the majority of the people that vote, whoever they vote for, is what the people said. We the people, by the people, for the people. This is how it works. Not because they want to protect their own ass. Not because they want to protect their own pocket or candor to their own power or influence. You have the mass news media who tries to direct people and tries to hype for ratings and money and so forth. It still comes back to the same things. And that needs to stop. It's wrong. Dead wrong. And it's affecting all of us. Unfortunately, there's a lot of people out there who are swayed by these things. A lot of people out there that want to, they listen to the spin and they listen to the allegations and the insinuations instead of seeing things as facts, determining which are facts and which are fallacy, and making those decisions. You have this issue on the Republican side where you have Trump and Cruz and Kasich right now at this point. Kasich seems to be, a good person, a good man. And I think he has good intentions. Some of his background in his so-called success as a governor, I attribute him. I applaud him. I give him that. But I think that is also being misconstrued because of other, like that's been said, they hit oil, that changed a lot of things in their state. So while he gets credit, I don't think he gets all of the credit. Another issue is, I see Ted Cruz, a senator. He's a sitting senator, has been there for a while. For me, that's one strike against him. I hear this man speak and everything and do his speeches, and he does this, and he sounds like this. He's this combination of politician and tent preacher. Neither one of which I trust tremendously much. So I don't buy the spin that he spits out. I don't buy, he comes off as, they say Donald Trump is arrogant. Well, Senator Cruz is displaying a certain amount of arrogancy. And he is displaying a certain amount of political speak and spin on things and the way he talks. A little bit more than is good for my taste. Personally, I'm voting for Donald Trump. People look at Trump, they look at some of the things he said, their speeches. You have to remember, too, Trump is not a politician. He's a businessman. What he's done as a businessman has been successful, greatly successful, obviously. And so people are attacking him because he's not a politician. A certain amount he's in a learning mode. What I want him in there for is because he does have this business sense, and financially, this country's in deep, damn trouble. And the financials have to be straightened out because it extends not only to the country, but to each of us as an individual. If we don't fix these problems financially, how are we going to fix anything else? Because it takes money to do it. Period. I think he's the better choice for that. I honestly do. Maybe he and Kasich on the same ticket would be a good run. Good mix. Together. Of course, Kasich states, he just emphatically won't do this, which kind of also puts me off on Kasich, is that he wouldn't even consider the aspect. That's not being reasonable. That's not using a lot of common sense. And common sense has gone out the window in this country on so many levels with all the political correctness, and that is total bullshit. Total bullshit for this political correctness atmosphere. Get back to common sense and basics. People, wake up. Wake up that you're being led around by your nose for too many things. You're being influenced by the wrong people, the wrong things, at the wrong time. If you succumb to that, then Whatever happens to you is going to happen. But you're part of the problem. You either be part of the problem or you be part of the solution. You know, people look at him in this situation and everything else and they look for perfection. You can't look at Trump and look for perfection. You can't look at Cruz and look at perfection. You can't look at the RNC or anything else and look for perfection. You can't see perfection in yourself because it doesn't exist. There's no perfect government. There's no perfect country. There's no perfect society. There's no perfect you or me. Perfection is an illusion. When I lecture, a lot of times, I lecture on the basis that there is no perfect anything. There's no perfect relationship, no perfect marriage. What there are is our perception of it all. What there is what I coined the phrase and deemed perfect moments. And I feel it's our job as human beings to recognize those times of perfect moments, those times when it does feel and seem perfect. Whether it's 5 minutes, whether it's a day, a weekend, an entire week, those perfect moments, if we recognize those and we take those and we hold those, put them in our mind and put them in our box and remember that they're there and pull them out and look at them and use them, then yes, life is worth living to try to find those perfect moments. It's not in everything. Trump's not going to be perfect, but neither is anything or anyone else. How's that different? It's not. But what I feel in this case, with this politics, that Trump is best to straighten out the financial. I feel that, and he's already stated, there are details on his website for some of his policies, if you bother to go there and read them. If you're going to complain about it, then hell, at least get the details and the facts first before you do it. The man has already said he would surround himself by people who do know about the various different subjects, about the military. He's going to go to the military people, the top guys, and he's going to determine, with their help, what are the best directions for us to go, how to best handle various things. He's going to go to the people who are the best at the financial beside himself and find out the best ways to do, whether it's taxes, whether it is businesses, whether it's trade deals with other countries, which we've been getting our ass kicked for I don't know how many years. It's ridiculous. We shouldn't be taking a loss in it. And it's more complicated than that, yes, but there's more to it, and only they can do that. We don't have the time. We're busy with our everyday lives, doing our everyday things and trying to survive. That's reasonable. That's normal. That's what we do. We gravitate toward that. But we have to look at the forest for the trees and the trees for the forest. We have to see the entire picture overall. We have to make the best choices to help them make the best choices. When they're not making the best choices, then we need to step up and do something about it. The RNC right now, talking about running a contested convention and bringing in a third candidate and a ringer, basically, and all this sort of thing, has to end. People like Mitt Romney coming up, doing what he did. I used to have respect for the man. Now I don't. Not after what he's doing and what he's currently doing. He has no business doing this. It is disgusting. It is gut-wrenching. It is disgraceful and it is embarrassing. It's embarrassing to be out of the country and other people see this going on and go, what the hell is wrong with this people? What the hell is wrong with this country? Maybe I don't ever want to go there. I don't blame them. Not a bit. I don't blame them at all. And that's not the way things should go. It is disgusting that they're doing this. RNC, you wake up. It is by the people to decide. It is the people who vote. And if the majority of the people vote for an individual, whether it's Trump or anyone else, then that's what they need to adhere to. They need to change with the times as well as anyone else. But again, they're protecting their place, their power, their control, their influence, their whatever, their jobs. I don't care about their jobs. I care about the country and all the people. That's the point. So will Trump make mistakes? Sure. Nobody's perfect. But the man has got the best interest, it seems, at heart. He seems to be sincere about that. Will he ever make mistakes? Guarantee you he will. But I don't think he'll make mistakes intentionally, and I don't think that it will be against our best interest. And I think if he makes some mistakes, he'll do everything he can to correct it. But he's going to try to surround himself with those people. Bernie Sanders, on the Democratic side, he's a socialist, pure and simple, out and out. Well, there's other countries out there, and I've been to them, where they're socialist systems. They have their problems too. Again, no perfect. They have their problems as well. And if you look into it, if you take time to look into it, you can't just look at Bernie Sanders. You can't look at everything and say, oh, yeah, I want this for America. You might be looking at your own situation instead of the best thing for the country and everyone else. Your own ideas. You want to have your own ideas? Fine. Be educated about it. Or be stupid. Your choice. Always is. Socialist countries have their difficulties. They have their problems also. It doesn't always work. Socialized medicine doesn't always work. I've seen that. People on waiting lists, like the people at the VA now. Same thing. Dying while they're waiting to see a specialist. It's not always great. You got other countries who charge 50% taxes from the people. But they get completely free health care. They're not on giant waiting lists or anything most of the time. And, they also get free education. That's one way it works. They're still not a socialist country. It's still more democratic. And they still have to make changes as they go. Everyone does. Everything does. That's the way it happens. You have people like Alan Coombs, who appears on Fox and other places, and I think he has his own radio show and all, and I can't even watch the guy on television. I can't even watch this man with the way he spouts stuff out. His narcissistic personality, that he's smarter than everyone else, and that, he has, while everyone has opinions, including me, I'm here doing this, while everyone has their opinions, the way his come out are just far too drastic and far too, I can't stand watching the guy. But anyway, we have things to do. We have this political issue going on. And I'm going to tell you, we keep doing this. We keep electing senators and congressmen, especially senators most of the time. Senators and senators who have been lawyers a big portion of the time. We've done this over and over and over again, and we're supposed to learn from history. How's that worked out? Look where we are now. $19 trillion in debt and all the problems and threats facing us, fears for our life, for not only our life, our family. This is proven. So we're just going to keep repeating over. This is like the man going to the movie. Someone goes to a movie and he sees the movie 4 times, and he's sitting there and it's going to come on the 5th time. So the person in the theater walks over and goes, "You really, really must love this movie. You're about to watch it the 5th time." And the man tells him, "No, not really, not so much." And they go, "Why in the world? Why are you watching it 5 times?" "Well, I didn't like the ending, so I'm waiting for it to change." Okay. The very definition of insanity. And that's what this is. The definition of insanity. To do the same thing over and over again repeatedly, expecting a different result. You want a different result? Then do it differently. In this case, in this year, in this country, in this election, needs to be decided by the people. Write your congressman, call your congressman, write your senators, call your senators, contact everyone in the RNC and tell them, no, this cannot be allowed. This is not America. This is not what the people dictate as who they want. This is supposed to be about that, not what they decide and shove down our throat. I don't know about you. I don't want to be controlled, and I don't want to be manipulated. And I don't want my choices taken away. There's enough of that already, and it needs to end. We need to get back to more common sense. Not everything is black and white. Not everything is left or right. There's a difference. I hope this gives you something to think about. I hope that it makes sense. And I hope that it'll spread. God knows. We need it. And we got to get back to being better to each other. Thanks for listening.